The Stage Studios, here's your host, the Rich Bontrigger.
Well, welcome back Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and we are back for Rock the Stage show, and we're back into the movie business tonight. And if you've watched any of these shows, you know I love the movie television, but not just what you see on camera. I love the behind-the-scenes stuff. I got to know what's going on off camera, on the side, and who's under the mask killing all these people. Tonight, we're going to go back to the amazing franchise of Scream. It's the second time we've gone and dealt with the franchise of Scream, but tonight we're going to get into the original, Ghostface. Who is the man behind the mask, and what does he do? What does he do? We're going to get into all that good fun stuff tonight, but let me ask you as we dive into this tonight, what would it be like for you to have a career that you're known, but no one knows your face? They know you, but they don't really know you. What is that really all about? We're going to dive into that a little bit more as well. So sit back and enjoy this. Lee Waddell is an American stuntman actor. He is best known for that performance in the original. He was the original Ghostface killer in the 1996. Oh my gosh, 96 Scream film. He has appeared in numerous other films such as Scream 2, Jurassic Park, The Lost World, Terminator, Spider-Man, and much, much more. And if that's not enough, he loves being a precision driver and doing fiery stunts. Lee Waddell, come on in. We're going to have a great conversation on Rock the Stage tonight. Lee?
Hey, thanks for having me in. Such a pleasure to be here. Really appreciate you, reaching out and go, hey, come on in, let's talk. So I love that.
Oh, believe me, and we have a lot to talk about because your IMDb is full of not just hit stuff, but stuff that I personally love that you may never have talked about on camera. So we're going to have a little fun here today.
Yeah, I mean, and that's only partial. There's a lot of stuff on IMDb that's not even on there, right? Like a lot of the TV doesn't get transferred in there. So there's all kinds of crazy stuff that's on there, off there. Films change names.
Yes.
So it's crazy. But yeah, here we go.
So first of all, 29 years of Scream. 29 years. Can you believe 29 years?
Yeah, I'm getting old is what that tells me. So, we're at 29 this year. We're going to have 30th anniversary coming up next year. So wow. I'm sure it's going to be huge. Scream-a-thon, crazy. Scream Nation just coming out and everywhere. And, Scream 7 is being produced right now. It'll be out a little bit later this year. So the franchise is healthy. Glad to be a part of it.
Did you ever think when Wes Craven or whoever called you and said, come put a mask on, did you ever think this would be 29 years later?
Well, no. I mean, come on. And I had to work with Wes a lot, right? My very first film with him was I was a snot-nosed greenhorn stunt guy working with Tony Caesar, who was with Wes for 20 plus years, right, as his second unit director and stunt coordinator. So when I got that call, it's like, hey, let's go come and make a movie. I'm like, hey, another Wes Craven film. Let's go have a blast and have fun and laugh and love like we always did, because it was a lot of the same people, and we always had a great time when we were making Wes's movies.
So everyone talks about the first killing, but I'm going to go to the one killing that I don't think anyone's ever asked you, but maybe they have. But I have not found a video clip of you talking about you killed Fonzie, you killed Henry Winkler. What's that all about? What was that like working with Henry Winkler? He has an uncredited role, and you kill him.
So, Principal Henry was his character name, and that was obviously we're shooting 96, and Henry's making that jump. It wasn't easy to do back in that time frame of film history, right? I mean, you were a TV guy, you were a movie guy, you were a commercial guy, whatever. And for him, he was. He made that jump successfully into feature film.
Yes.
And here we are hanging out with Henry Winkler. So Henry's the Fonz, right? He did what was Happy Days. I grew up on him on 12 years and was such a pleasant human being. I mean, what a pro. The guy was so cool to hang out with. And, he's out there signing books now and doing a few cons here, interaction with them.
How much of that is Wes Craven scripting and telling you? How much of it is the two of you working as actors and trying to figure out what What's the best way?
So here's what I can't wait to see Henry again and remind him of how much an impact he made on me. It was from an actor side, right? Not necessarily a stunt guy, but from an actor side. The one, you know, I've worked with big names and big directors and big everything, and you know, here's Henry Winkler, and I was just like blah blah blah. I was just an idiot, and I owned it, man. I flat out told him, like, we're actually on set together, and we're getting ready to do this thing. I'm like, Henry, I'm fanboying so hard, and he laughed, you know. He goes, don't worry about it, you know.
Now I've seen you sport a shirt that says Drew.
Yeah, we're you know, I drug that out of the woodwork when they drug me out of the woodwork, you know, 4 years ago, I guess, and they're like, hey, it's the 25th anniversary of Scream. I'm like, okay, you know, I was fat and retired and fishing and hanging out and having a great time, and they go, hey, you know, why don't you come on out and do these cons and, you know, sign some stuff, and I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you talking a great time with? Not my thing. I was just a good working stunt guy. Showed up on time, did my job, went home, off to the next thing. You know, I'm old school like that. Never took pictures of people I doubled. Never got autographs. That's just not how I cut.
Yeah. So what's it like I said in the opener, what's it like to be the guy? You look like the actor you're doubling. You look like the ghost or creature you're doubling, but they don't see you. What's it like to be that iconic, but not that iconic? I
mean, usually stunt guys don't get credit. I mean, yeah, we play a part like, you know, hey, yeah, be a cop, get shot, die, fall over, crash car, whatever. So then, you know, you might see us, but we're nondescript for the most part. It's not necessarily a character that we play. So being behind a mask, you know, we're getting not as a stunt guy. You know, and Scream, the whole franchise is not a heavy stunt. You know,
no, it's not.
None of them, what I consider heavy stunt work, right? We're not really doing a lot of explosions and work and things are blowing up and stuff like that. So it's, in my opinion, it's a light stunt movie. Stunt's all the same, but it's, you know, people falling down and maybe a fight or two, but nothing heavy.
How do you emote through that mask? There's been different guys in the suit. Is there consistency they want from the different guys that try to say, wait, we don't do it that way. You got to do it this way. Or is it left to expression a little bit?
That's a great question, because if you talk to guys and girls that have done mask work, right? Because as you and I are having this conversation, we identify through our facial features and, you know, look at each other's eyes and all that great stuff, smile, whatever. So as soon as you take that away, you've taken 90% of the game away, right? So now you got to take, you know, how do you sit there and emote those emotions through the physical without a face? Very challenging, a lot more challenging than people realize, right? Even other actors who've never done mask work that have had that. That's a double-edged sword. You can sometimes hide behind that mask, right? But then when you try to bring some emotions forward without being able to see a person's face, very challenging. It's not easy as an actor to be hidden behind the mask.
Did you and Wes spend time saying this is the image, the backstory, the vibe I want you to exude? Because the mask takes away so much. So
so one of the things that, you know, what was really cool about the original Scream was that we shot the first 2 weeks in sequence, which never happens, right?
No.
And, you know, for some people that know, maybe don't know, is when you shoot in sequence, you start with, hey, day one, scene one, take one, go, right? And actually get to, you know, film, and then you get day two, scene three, whatever it is, and you don't make. And that first couple of weeks, we actually had that opportunity to do that. And so when I sat on one, so I was with Wes. I had the robe on and we're inside the house, right? That Drew was running around in, right? Casey's house. And 20 minutes maybe before the camera rolled, he and I sat down and birthed that character. You know, sat down with, as an actor to Wes, and I'm like, one key takeaway was that he always remember, he goes, Lee goes, I'm like, yeah, he goes, remember this guy's a phantom. I'm like, okay. I can wrap my mind around phantom, right? And I kind of rewound to when I loved black and white horror, right? The original stuff from Universal, you know, and then I took it back and I'm like, okay, remember the original Phantom of the Opera? And, you know, so I took a little of that DNA, threw it in there, you know, and that came across. Like, so in that opening scene, when you see me zipping around that house, very Phantom, very on direct, right? And that was how that character at that initial onset came about. It was that quick, that fluid, that easy in a sense.
Now, there's a fraternity of sorts of the Ghostface.
Yeah.
Alan Robinson has been on Rock the Stage. He was in the suit.
Yep.
What's it like to have guys? You guys talk about what you did, what I did. I like what you did. You shouldn't have done that. Is there a little discussion now behind the scenes of who's the best Ghostface?
Well, I mean, no, not really, because I am the best, and you know, so. Yeah, I was the one who started it, so everybody that's coming after me better do it right. And so we chit chat about that among ourselves, right? And it's a fraternity, right? In order to, and you know, and there's a lot of guys that, oh, I was Ghostface. I'm like, and the unwritten rule of it, so to speak, is like, well, who did you kill, right? Because there's plenty of times when, I mean, I think we stuck a grip in the mask one time. We drive by and I went on set or something. It was just one of those things, right? And so there's a lot of times when people would quote unquote, oh, I'm Ghostface. I'm like, what'd you do? He goes, oh, I was in the bush when the car drove by. Okay. Technically, I guess he had the mask on, but
if you killed Henry Winkler or Drew Barrymore, it counts a little bit heavier in the weight scale, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, it could be. I don't get too wrapped up about that. You know, it's a great. I'm glad to be a part of it. It's a great franchise. The franchise is healthy. You know, 7's on the way. And I'm sure if 7 is a commercial success, you know, maybe 8, 9, 10, whatever.
Now you've done other things. You've done X-Men First Class, Jarhead, Spider-Man, U.S. Marshals, but your career, from what I can tell, started with Terminator and James Cameron. God, was that your first big breakthrough?
Yeah, that was my first crack at it. I think that was my first SAG.
I mean, that's not a bad guy to start off with.
Yeah, but,
come on, James Cameron, Wes Craven, wow.
You know, but I didn't know who James Cameron was at the time. That was, you know, he was just coming, right? You know, and I'm such a geek in that sense. It's like I was just doing a job, working, and you know, it was just a driving sequence. I was like number 5 in the line. You know, I'm just one of the guys. So, you know, Cameron wasn't James Cameron that he is now, right?
Yeah.
Like my very first extras work to start getting into the industry so I could meet the stunt coordinators and all that was like John Carpenter, Christine, right? John Carpenter, right? My guy, you know, and I'm on set and I could really care less about John Carpenter because I was at that time stunt to learn. You know? Yeah. They're like, John Carpenter, like, who's that? Da, da, da. Which is crazy because I knew damn well who who directed the thing and all that stuff. And, you know, so.
You were a utility stunt guy. What does, for those that don't know, what's a utility stunt guy versus a stunt guy?
Well, I mean, we're always stunt guys, right? And as much as I love actor, my DNA is in stunts. But you tell, hey, Lee, go grab that pad, right? We're just around. We're just bodies, right? Hey, we got this big scene. Hey, this big scene where the car drives through the coffee store. Go get a coffee. Don't get hit by the car. You know, react when it drives through. Whatever. ND, which is nondescript. Utility means you get to do a little bit of everything. You know.
Now, Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
You got eaten by a dinosaur.
It's one of my few times in my career where I got stretched out pretty good from that big lizard.
Really?
Oh yeah, you know, because you remember, so that was in Lost World, which was Jurassic Park 2.
Yeah.
Doubled a guy by the name of who's it, Richard
The
Schiff?
guy that was from the West Wing, who played
Yeah,
Toby from West Wing.
yeah, exactly. So Richard, great actor, right? He and
Yes.
and Spielberg was such a perfectionist that, and I made double for Richard that they did a casting of Richard's nose so they could shoot me almost head on, and it was perfect. Yeah, made a super good double for him, you know. And I'm like, hey, great, go do some freaking action stuff. And I think he went off and did TV. Yeah, so I was doubling him when he got eaten out of the Jeep or Mercedes. Or
Yeah,
it was with those dinosaurs.
you got ripped apart, man. There was like 2 dinosaurs fighting over the best meal of the day.
Yeah, right. And so the first part of that is practical. That was the real deal. So I know that stuff when I'm getting pulled out of the Jeep, you know, that's all real. That's me. And then when I got thrown between the two, that was CG. And at that time in filmmaking, CG and practical were crossed over a lot. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's when CG is really starting to make inroads into the film industry.
Yeah.
Which was a really cool time making movies. I'm a little bit tired of CG at this point.
Yeah, it's been overused. I'm much more of a practical in-camera guy if I can.
Yeah.
I love seeing that. How did they pull? Was that a crane that pulled you out, and then they over CG the dinosaur, or how did they pull you out of there?
So the dinosaurs were real in the sense that they're all basically it was a backhoe with a lizard skin on it. I mean, these things were hydraulic, articulate. You know, Stan Winston's effects made that, right? And Stan was side by side. In fact, when we did that stunt, I went to Stan directly, and because they took one of the big lower teeth out of the T-Rex, so I could put my leg in its mouth, right, and have a channel for it. And I asked him, I'm like, Stan. He's like, yeah. I'm like, let me have the tooth. And he that because I knew this was an iconic stunt. We knew it. You know, it was going to be a one and done thing.
So talk about the fire, because I've seen good fire, and sometimes you see the suit, you see the protective gear, and other times you swear Johnny got blown up and Johnny's on fire forever. And it's really, I mean, there's gels, there's protective gear, but tell us about doing the fire stuff.
Yeah. So my mentor who brought me into the business was a guy named Tony Caesar, going back to Wes Craven, right? That guy. Tony was the fire guy for decades in the film industry, right? He was the guy. And I was really fortunate to come up under him, and he taught me the way that he did fire, which was a little bit in his own niche. And he did more fire than anybody. I don't know how many full burns he did over his career, but it's a bunch, right? So I was really cool that I got to come up under him and learn his tricks. And at one time I developed my own gel, where you can actually do some bear skin stuff, or so it appeared. So yeah, the fire was great. I liked fire because it paid really well.
The risk level kind of goes up.
It was cool. It was cool, pun intended.
How long can you stay lit? Because I know they have guys right there. They have blankets, fire extinguishers off camera. How long can the guys stay lit before they're really concerned? I
like to keep it under 30 seconds. 20 is even better, right? Less is more. So if you can get the shot and get out before you get hot, because you go from hey, this feels really good, as far as like, yeah, you can feel the thermal in there and you kind of get hungry and everything. Big stunts, it kind of unfolds around you, right? And you're thinking your way through it. And even though I might have had a little adrenaline, my adrenaline didn't really hit until the back end of it, because it was such a thinking person's game.
Yeah.
Right? When you're and I don't care, it could get a hold of you quick, and that's what happens with fire. I mean, you go from hero to zero in less than a quarter second. I mean, it happens fast.
So let me go back. What got you into stunt work? I mean, acting, stunt work, but what got you into the stunt side of it, because not everyone's thinking, I want to get lit on fire today or roll a car and do it again tomorrow. What got you into this?
So when I took film classes over there for quite a while. And at that point, I was like, okay, what do you want to do? I'm like, well, I want to make movies or I'm going to go in the military. I just made that decision one day. I'm like, man, I just want to make movies. And that's what I wanted to do. And here we are, 30, 40 years later, and we're still talking about it. So I guess something worked out.
Well, and now, like you mentioned earlier, you're at hero cosplaying, all this stuff. But now you guys from Scream and everything else are saying, we're pulling off the mask, we're coming out, and people are loving. They get to meet you. Ghostface, what's that like to be really interfacing with the fans now?
Super humbling, super blessed, right? It's so fun. And when I signed on, when they found me, so to speak, I'm like, all right, let's do one, and if I have a good time, we'll talk about doing another one.
Right.
And the only reason that I came out of the woodwork to do one, so it was with Tony Caesar, right? Tony is like, and I called up Tony directly. I hadn't talked to him in a little bit. I'm like, hey, tell me about this whole con silliness. People are come up to you and have you sign stuff. And he's like, nah, you come on out, we'll hang out and have a good time. So he was there, and Dick Warlock, who's another iconic, stunt guy, actor. He was there. And so the three of us got together and had breakfast, and we got to hang out and catch up. And it was such a great experience talking with them, right? And remember, because those are guys that I came into the business pursuing and came up under, right? I was that next generation. So it was really a great time to be hanging out with them and rehashing stuff and telling stories. And, because those guys are in their 80s. And so they have, and I came into the business in the 80s. Well, they were in the business in the 60s, 70s. Mm-hmm. And so they have those generational stories that I just love to hear about.
What's been the biggest stunt for you personally? That was the one that said, man, this is so freaking cool, but I'm scared to death.
Well, like the one I did for Lost World was great, right? That was a big, iconic stunt. Getting eaten in that way by dinosaurs and getting yanked out of there. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to that stunt. It was raining, it was dark. You're dealing with a backhoe, because I mean, those things could flat out hurt you, probably kill you, right? I really liked all the elements in that stunt. It came out great. So
how many hours did it take to do that? How many hours did it take to film that one little?
We shot it on a Friday, and it was like the last shot of, I wouldn't say last shot of the week, but it was the shot of the day, right? But when it actually was, we did it in one, and they had rehearsed. Yeah, they had rehearsed that sequence months earlier in pre-production. So they already had the rigging worked out and all that stuff. They knew how they were going to do it because they already pre-rigged it, pre-did it, pre-everything. Right? And they had one of the other guys on the stunt team. I can't remember who wrote that stupid thing, but they put him. The lizard didn't have his skin on or anything. He was just hanging on to this hydraulic backhoe thing, and they just beat him senselessly. And then, so they had all that stuff worked out. We didn't have to do testing because the testing was done months ago. And so when I showed up, and I was on that show for a few months, it was a great run, big money, big show, biggest thing going on in Hollywood that time, $3 million or whatever the crazy it was. And so we got in there, and they strapped me on in and ran the cables, and I jumped in that thing and rode the dinosaur, so to speak, and it all worked out. It was, we had rehearsed some stop marks before I actually got in there. So the puppeteer who would actually run that crazy lizard, he was across the stage with Spielberg in Video Village. Right? His end marks were like little tape hashes that he put on the screen. So when he pick up the head, he goes, all right, we're supposed to stop there. We're supposed to stop here, go up here. That, yeah, I mean, so that's how practical it was. It was not a computer. It wasn't a computer program hitting at stop marks, right?
No. Wow.
Puppeteer, man, sitting there with the joystick doing his thing.
That's a lot of trust. Okay, you have me harnessed in, and now you're going to do this with me.
Yeah, yeah.
What goes through your mind when you say action? You know, the guy's now controlling you with a joystick.
I remember seeing that big old dinosaur, and it would not take much imagination-wise to let yourself go, because the detail was so incredible.
Yeah.
So incredible on these big things. You know, even detail. So like when you looked down the mouth of this dinosaur, it had teeth and tongue, and I mean, it was all there. It wasn't like, holy crap. So and the eyeballs moved. I mean, Stan Winston and his team at that time.
Gosh.
Super detailed, super detailed and practical, and all that great stuff.
Now, you also are into endorsing athletes now. How do you make the switch from acting stunt work to athlete?
So that's a great story. And, you know, I'm so busy over here in the GHOSTFACE side of my life. And, you know, people don't realize how much hunting, fishing, outdoor side of my world there is, right? Yeah. Mutual contacts. I had the pleasure of hooking up with a gentleman by the name of John Cruz at Missile Baits, right? And he's a Bassmaster elite angler, top shelf. These are where the big boys go to play. And Florida, and his marketing director, chief of sales, and I became fast friends because actually we got in a fight over the phone. And so he and I hit it off because we were just ball busting so much. And that's to this day, you know, I'm very direct and blunt, you know, not because I'm trying to hurt somebody's feelings. Guys, here's the thing. I'm not gonna, doesn't mean I'm gonna be vulgar about it. So Byron and I hit it off, right? We're two peas in a pod, and then I met his boss. And so I go down, and I didn't know it at the time, but when they invited me down to this big iCast show, and they kind of like, hey, you know, camera, go over here and take care of these social media guys that are coming through the thing. And so, as it turns out, there's a niche in that market that needs to be filled, because these guys that have these pro anglers and a lot of professional athletes, they have these endorsements, which is great, right? You know, but they're really bad on camera.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, don't get me started.
Right. And it's not a, you know, you got to be yourself on camera, but guys get in front of camera. God, they're just, you know, when they're doing their thing, I don't care what sport it is, that's their element. That's how they got to where they're going. But you stick them on camera, and that's not their element, and they get a little bit reserved sometimes, or they go down a rabbit hole or something like that. And then, you know, when you're sitting on camera, especially in an endorsement situation, it's a thinking person's game, right? You got to, even though it's supposed to look natural and seem natural, you need to have somewhat of a bullet point of what you want to get across in 30 seconds.
You still got to be on. I mean, you have to be crisp, cool, collected. You have to know where to hit your mark and then get out.
Yeah. And so like when these, you know, so, and these guys, you know, just want to fish. That is, and I get it, man. I just want to fish. I don't want to, you know, professional or not, if I'm just fishing, you know, let's go out and catch some, that's fat, you know, and have a good time. And these guys will get out there, and, you know, these are top tier professional anglers, professional sportsmen, right? And they're paid either in product or hard cash to go push this product line. And so when they have like a weigh-in interview, you know, like that first day one, when you're bringing a bag full of fish, you're going to get your 30 seconds.
Yes.
And I don't care if you're on the totem pole, you have 30 seconds to keep your sponsors out in front.
Yep.
And a lot of these guys and girls, they get up there and talk about, oh yeah, it was a really tough day of fishing and da 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 da. Okay, I get it. Love that mercury was pushing me down, blah blah blah. And the people that really started doing this game was NASCAR 20 or 30 years ago.
Oh, and I remember how it changed, and they began to do it. It was amazing.
Yeah, and they just took it in-house, and everybody goes through NASCAR news, right? Everybody goes through and they teach these knuckleheads that can drive the wheels off of anything. I don't care if it's a diesel truck or a go-kart. Those boys are wheels, right? But a little bit, yeah, exactly. So I just took up, I just basically took the NASCAR playbook and applied it to some other aspects, and so it's turning out to be a great lucrative little deal.
Well, so, the whole back end of Rock the Stage show, the real end is the media coaching, and you're talking about
absolutely right.
Shine on camera, shine on stage, elevate your brand, and you have to know how to do this.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're just an infomercial, no one's going to sign off on you. Right. Even the sponsors that are going, even though you're pushing their product, but if nobody's relating to you or just like yawn, boring, cancel, boom, you're pushing product, you're pushing their brand. But if you're not getting engagement and retention, what's the upside for a sponsor who's putting out thousands? Hundreds of thousands.
Athlete or the race car driver or fisherman, the recognized name, talking about the recognized brand, that's a marriage that you can make or break in 30 seconds.
Oh, absolutely. And especially in today's, you know better than I do by far, in today's cancel culture that still exists live, and even things are crazy right now in today's world. I get it, but still you get canceled quick. Yes. Right? Hopefully you don't have to several thousand people every week when I'm out doing cons, right?
Yeah.
I do interviews every weekend. I do panels every weekend. I sign hundreds, if not thousands, every weekend. But my game starts when I get off the plane at whatever host city we're going to, right? And it doesn't stop until I get off the plane when I get home. Because between that A and B, like I get ambushed a lot at baggage, right? So these guys that are driving down the road with stickers all over the side of their trucks with a $100,000 bass boat in with sponsorship all over it, they're on. Yes. So when you stop to get fuel, you better be on your game. You better have stuff to people to give away. You better be able to sign autographs, all that stuff. A lot of them don't have that play, so my plate is full with guys and girls in that arena that need to have that coaching.
By the way, we have Night of Scream event coming up.
Oh yeah, great.
In Las Vegas. I'm sure we talk about this because this is the GHOSTFACE fraternity a little bit. This is a big event, and you're leading the charge on this, right? This is your baby?
Yeah, one of the producers, one of my promoter friends, they did one last year called Night of Scream. Or Night of Nightmares, right? So they brought a bunch of people for the Nightmare on Elm Street series. We got them together, had an event out in LA, and so this year we're going to do Night of Screams. I think it's in Vegas. It is 29th. Right? And that one's really cool because we took 3 of the original Ghostface guys. So it's myself, Alan Robbins, who Jeff Brockton, who you need to have on. Jeff's a great stunt guy, right?
Hook me up, brother. Come on, hook me up.
Yeah. With Jeff. So we took the 3 original primary Ghostface guys, right? And we're getting together for a one-time, one-off, like 200 tickets, limited deal. And we're going to get together in Vegas. And it's the only time that all 3 of us ever been in the room at the same time.
Really?
Yeah. So like Alan and I have worked together. Jeff and I have worked together, but not the 3 people. Not the original trifecta, and that's the original 3 screams that Wes wrote, right?
So it's the holy trinity of Scream. That's what you're saying.
pretty much, And we get the 3 of us together. astronauts. We have such a great time together. You know, we got great stories from all of our films collectively, not just Screen, not just Wes.
Oh my gosh. Alan and I went on and on about his career.
Yeah. Yeah. He, you know, I'm going to take credit for getting it started. And man, he put me in the weeds quick. I'm like, what are you doing with who? Really? Oh man. And he just went to town. He had a great career, you know, and he's a great friend too. He and I go way, way back.
So I'm going to bring up your IMDb. We're going to share this here. Hit the QR code, folks. You want to see all the amazing film, because we barely scratched the surface of stuff.
Yeah.
Barely. What is your favorite film that you've ever done? What, I mean, regardless of the stunt, what's the favorite film that you were involved in, or TV series?
So I really like TV series wise. I worked on Alias a lot. The second unit director, stunt coordinator was Jeff Habersad, who's big time second unit guy now. Good friend of mine, go way, way back. And
Jennifer Garner, huge hit.
Jen was the lead on that. And I worked on that show a lot. And it was a fun show because the great thing about TV, which I kind of enjoyed, was the pace, right? Because you're making a series. You know, you don't have 3 months to make one episode. It's about 3 days, right? And so I enjoyed the pace of the show, right? Now it makes sense because you don't have that much time. But I loved that show. That show was a real blast to work on. Did quite a few Walker, Texas Rangers back in the day.
The original Walker, right?
Yeah, yeah, with Chuck Norris. And you know, some of the funnest films I've worked on in the last couple of years, small independent horror, and great. Well, you know, how cool is that? You know,
the real life of a real stuntman.
Yeah, and sitting there and just having a blast, great dialogue, and just having it kind of took me back to, you know, film school days when you're guerrilla filmmaking and you're kind of shooting from the hip and you're fast and it's knocking stuff out. So it's really refreshing to do it. I like that vibe, you know. And sure, being back on a big studio film is great, but things have changed so much. The Hollywood that I grew up in, the Hollywood that I made my living in,
it's gone.
It is, and people are still having problems figuring that out. Right, going back to that social media thing we're talking about with our endorsed athletes.
Yes,
you know, this is where you get to be seen.
Yep, exactly.
So, you know, maybe you get to be seen on an 80-inch TV. Maybe you get to be seen on the big screen theatrically, but most of it's on 16-inch laptop or a 2-inch, you know, phone.
Well, Lee, it's been great to have you on. The stories, the history, again, the original GHOSTFACE. What does that mean to you to stay clean now? Again, 29 years. As we wind down, what does that mean to you to have that moniker?
I love it. I embrace it. I'm possessive of it. You know, if the Scream Nation is, as I call the horror fans and people that love Scream across the board, not just one, you know, and they're the ones who kind of branded me with that. And, you know, if they're crazy enough to go, hey, you're the original, I'm like, yeah, I am. And I love it. I endorse it. I embrace it. I'm possessive of it. I mean, I love the Scream Nation. If it wasn't for those fans, those crazy fans that drive this franchise, you know, I'd be off doing something else. But I love those fans. I am all of this, you know, all of us across all 7, we love the fan base. I mean, that is our passion. That is our drive. Those fans do never go away wanting, you know, if we have the power to control that, because we get big fans, big lines, big conventions around the block, all that great stuff. And man, we stay there till everybody's taken care of, because that's how important and how passionate we are about that fan base.
Lee Waddell, thanks for taking the time to be on Rock the Stage tonight.
I appreciate it, man. Peace. Thanks for everybody watching, and we'll catch up with y'all soon. Take care.
Wow. What a career. And again, the story, the behind the scenes, all the fun stuff that goes into it. We could go much longer, We want to have the other Scream on now. Now we got 2 of the original 3. We have to get number 2 in. So watch for that on Rack the Stage Show. That's going to do it for this week. Being with us here tonight. Again, Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we go and have in-depth, unscripted conversations with actors, stuntmen, directors, authors, and so much more. You never know who's going to show up on Rack the Stage, so please join us next. Never Rack the Stage Show.